James 5, 7 to 12, unfolds within a moment of great anticipation, a time when the horizon of God's redemptive plan was not distant but pressing in upon that generation. The writer addresses brethren who stood in the tension between promise and fulfillment, urging them to behold the nearness of the Lord's arrival, not as a distant hope stretched across centuries, but as an imminent reality at their very door. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. The call to patience is not rooted in uncertainty, but in certainty, awaiting its appointed unveiling. Like the farmer who entrusts the seed to the earth and waits for the early and latter rain, so these believers were to rest in the assurance that what had been sown in the purposes of God would surely come to harvest. The language does not suggest delay without end, but expectancy grounded in divine faithfulness. The Lord's coming was not speculative, it was approaching. Be ye also patient, stablish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. The nearness emphasized here is not symbolic distance, but temporal closeness. Their hearts were to be established, not by striving, not by anxious effort, but by confidence in what had already been secured. The stability of their hearts was rooted in the certainty that the Lord's appearing would vindicate, fulfill Halai, and bring to completion all that had been spoken. Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. The imagery is striking. The judge is not afar off. He is at the threshold. This is not a vague warning for an indefinite future, but a declaration that the decisive moment was imminent. The presence of the judge at the door signals the transition from old to new, from expectation to realization. The community is addressed as those living on the brink of that transition. The prophets are then set forth as examples, those who spoke in the name of the Lord and endured suffering. Their endurance was not in vain, for they too spoke that were to culminate in that same unfolding moment. Their testimony pointed forward to what this generation was about to witness. The endurance of the prophets finds its resolution not in endless waiting, but in fulfillment. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Endurance here is not the means by which something is earned, but the posture of those who are carried along by the certainty of God's promise. Even the mention of Job points not to human perseverance achieving divine favor, but to the revelation of the Lord's character, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. The emphasis rests not on human effort, but on divine compassion already at work. Finally, the exhortation concerning oaths, let your yea be yea, and your nay, nay, reflects a simplicity that flows from assurance. When the reality of God's faithfulness is fully known, there is no need for elaborate guarantees or anxious speech. Truth stands plainly because the foundation beneath it is unshakable. Throughout this passage, the thread that binds every word together is the nearness of fulfillment and the sufficiency of what God has already purposed. The call to patience is not a call to strive toward completion, but to rest in the certainty that completion was at hand. The endurance spoken of is not a condition for acceptance, but the experience of those living in the final moments before fulfillment breaks forth. Thus, the tone of the passage is not one of burden, but of assurance. The Lord's coming, the standing of the judge, the testimony of the prophets, the mercy revealed in Job, all converge to declare that what had long been anticipated was no longer distant. It was near, at the door, ready to be revealed in its fullness.